Obviously, I can't speak to what your specific expectations were for the Bills on Sunday in Tampa Bay. But I do think a lot of Bills fans were feeling kind of down on them. They had just lost at home Monday Night Football to the Patriots. Patriots looking like they have the inside track on the division now. Bills looking more like a wild card team. They'd fallen to 7-5. They're in that muddy wild card picture with like 6 other teams. They don't have a great conference record. Now they're going on the road to Tampa Bay to face the defending Super Bowl champions and Tom Brady. Like, we just lost to New England. Now we have to face Tom Brady. What circle of hell is this? So I was a little nervous about the fragility of my mind state entering that game. Like, oh no, we just lost to New England. We feel behind in the division. Like, this is not how we all envision this season going. Even as soon as, I don't know, October, when the Patriots were 2-4 and the Bills were like 4-1 or even 4-2 after losing to Tennessee. It was like, all right, well, we're still obviously a very good team. And the Bills, I think, all along have been a good team. I really do. There's something that I've talked about on these videos for the past couple of weeks that I really want to address again. But before I get into that, back on Tampa Bay, again, I'm feeling not defeated, not like the Bills are definitely going to lose, but a little bit mentally defeated. Not like turning on the game like, well, we're about to lose this game 7-6. But like just because of everything I mentioned. Because the season hadn't been going how we expected it to. Because New England is seemingly back. That old whatever euphemism you want to use for that, rears its ugly head. So now you're facing Tampa Bay. So you went from Belichick, you're facing Tom Brady, like back-to-back weeks. Tough draw, obviously. So I'm thinking, Brady's just going to be hitting open receivers left and right, completions here, completions there, and it's just going to drive me insane, and I'm already in kind of a low spot right now, like a weak mentality, and I didn't think it was going to be good for me. And then the game went and totally blew that out of the water, like exceeded that. I can't speak, again, to how you guys handle Bills' losses, but if you're the type of person that just goes on about their life, how? How do you do that? Like, oh, well, there's more to life than sports. Like, of course. Okay, of course there is. But this is like what I like the most. Okay? Bills football. It's like my favorite thing. Friends, family, obviously, that comes ahead of it. Obviously. That's everyone's number one. Everyone's go-to. What's your favorite hobby? What's your favorite thing? You should be able to identify that. It's kind of what makes you you. Look around my room. Look around. Okay? This Bills football. That's what it is for me. So when they lose, especially in heartbreaking fashion, it hurts me. I think I might have said 9, 10, 15 words the rest of the day. I just sat there on the couch, watched Sunday Night Football, couldn't get tired because I couldn't calm myself down enough to fall asleep. And finally around 3:30 a.m., I laid down and was able to fall asleep. And I feel better now. Do I feel better about the game itself? No. But I'm out of that post-game moratorium, if you will, if that's even the right word. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, like, to just lose in that fashion, even if you have low expectations going in, to lose in that fashion is all the more gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, whatever ing you want to throw on there. And I'm gonna talk about Josh Allen again, guys. Why can't he deliver there? Why has he not been able to? Why has Jared Goff done it, but Josh Allen hasn't? You're Jared Goff. I don't respect you. You're Jared Goff. You're the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. You're a joke at times. Like, people make fun of you for, not you've been to the Super Bowl. Okay, you've been to the Super Bowl. But, like, people make fun of Jared Goff because of the hilarious decisions he makes on the field. And the bad interceptions he throws. The whatever. Insert whatever. You're Jared Goff. I have Josh Allen. MVP candidate. AFC Championship game last year. Like, MVP frontrunner coming into the season, for much of the season. I think that's fallen off now. And he can't do what you happen to do. Again, the Lions did against Minnesota, throw a touchdown on the last play of the game. Josh Allen can't do that. And now you're going to go, Greg, hold on, Greg. I hear you. I hear you, Greg. But you can't blame Allen for that. Did you watch the second half? Of course I did. Played his butt off in the second half. I was in love. Okay, but why do you just let go of the first half? Like it didn't happen. It's 24-3. The Bills are going like punt, punt, field goal, punt, punt, or something like that. Punt, interception. Like, you're just going to, oh, well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Did you see what he did in the second half? That's the real Josh Allen. Okay. I hope so. I hope that that's how he continues to play throughout the rest of the year. But once again, there he is at the end of a game. He had this opportunity twice against the Patriots on Monday Night Football. Hey, need you here. Need you here, Josh. Need a touchdown. Didn't do it against New England. Hey, Josh, we need you to go down and tie this game. He does it. Okay, he does it. Then they're fortunate enough to win the coin toss. And I know that there's something looming here. I'm going to talk about that as well. They're fortunate enough to win the coin toss. And in 3 plays, they're on defense. And nobody really wants to talk about that. Nobody ever brings that up. Like, oh, you went 3 and out to start overtime. That's why they lost. They had the ball. Like, well, how excited were you when they won the coin toss? I was like, oh my God. Like, you have a couple ways of thinking about this. You can think like, well, we never do this. Why do we do it now? You can be nervous about it because, like, well, it's never happened. This is fun, but like, this never works. It'd be such a surprise if it works. Or you can be like, we have Josh Allen. Of course this is going to work. We have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We're going to win. We're going to go down and win. You see it all the time across the league. Again, comparing them to the greats here, but like Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, Lamar Jackson. They do it all the time. Jared Goff's done it. Why can't Josh Allen do it? And here we go. I've got almost, over 7 minutes into the video without mentioning the officiating. And why? Why would I do that? Well, because officiating is ambiguous. Okay, do I think the Bills got robbed? Of course. Of course. Okay, when you see that end zone angle of Diggs and his shirt just being pulled down to like here, I'm not going to do this because I like this shirt, down to like here, you're like, you've got to be kidding me. And does that rob Josh Allen of a chance to win the game? Yes. Yes, it does. Does the pass interference on Levi Wallace do that? Yeah, maybe. I don't know, it was first down. But maybe. Does, Carlton Davis, 3 times really, in overtime on the nameplate, does that? Yeah. I mean, maybe. But like, this stuff happens in football all the time. You know what else happens in football all the time? When somebody gets the ball down by 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, whatever, they lead their team down the field to win the game. It happens all the time. Okay? I'm not gonna like blame it on one missed call. That could have directly impacted the result. It definitely could have. But this to me is just another thing in this laundry list of excuses that fans make to absolve Josh Allen. To just like, oh, it's not Josh's fault. You have to deliver here at some point. What is the problem? Why can't it get done? Awesome game. Amazing second half. I was in love watching you in the second half. I needed one more play. That's fair. That's fair. Because that's what happens in the NFL. Don't care that you slipped against Tennessee. I need one more play. I needed any play against Jacksonville. I needed one more play against New England. Like, they've had a realistic shot in 4 games at the end of them. And they're 0-4 in those. Really, they have 6 losses, and 2 of them were, the Pittsburgh game, the offense just didn't show up, really. Same thing against Indianapolis. And even, like, in the first half, you guys want to just write off the first half, it's 24-3. It's trending like, hey, I need 30 points. I might need 40 points. They have 24 already in the first half. I might need 40 points. I need you to show up. And he showed up in the second half. But again, needed one more. Another story coming out of that game, I think, is how the coach, McDermott, has regressed in terms of fourth down aggression and maybe strategy a little bit. Tyler Bass, I didn't know this until this week, leads the league in field goals under 29 yards. 29 yards and under. Attempts, makes 12. He's the only one that's attempted double digits. He's attempted 12 field goals from 20 to 29 yards, which means they have kicked 12 field goals from inside the 11, with the ball inside the 11-yard line. Red zone, that's been tough. I think that the field goal that they kicked in the first half against Tampa Bay, I think a lot of fans wanted to go for that. The fake punt, why? They might have saw something on film or something, but Tampa Bay didn't line up in their usual punt formation. They kept a lot of their starters out there just in case something was up. Something was up. It didn't work. Why didn't you just try Josh Allen at that point? I know that they only had 3 points, I think, at that point, and it felt over right there. So, I'll give credit to the Bills for coming back from that. I will. I really will. For bouncing back with not a lot of time, less than a half against Tom Brady. And I got to give credit to the defense for that, too. Despite everything that went down in the first half. I'm not writing that off by any means. I think there might be something to this McDermott taking over for Frazier in tough spots thing. Now, I don't have a ton of examples of this, but you might remember back to Josh's rookie year. His first start, in fact, against the Chargers. I think it was absurd. Something absurd at halftime, like 28-3 or something. Something like that. It was a lot to a little. And then McDermott, reportedly after the game, took over play calling duties from Frazier in the second half. And then they just put the clamps on the Chargers in the second half. And they were almost able to lead a comeback. This is kind of the same thing. I don't know that McDermott took over play calling duties from Leslie Frazier, but coming out of the locker room, you saw, if you were paying attention, you would have seen McDermott. I don't know what goes on inside the locker room, but you would have seen McDermott with a clipboard or a play sheet or something to that effect, talking to Leslie Frazier about something, and then something changed. The Bills only allowed 3 points in the second half. And then they ended up allowing the touchdown on a miscommunication in overtime to Perriman, which was tough. A tough pill to swallow, because once you see him get by Edmonds, you don't see anybody in the screen, and it feels like forever. I know how fast he's moving, Perriman's moving, but you're just watching it happen and can't believe that it's over. This night that started out terribly, and then you just get this shot of adrenaline in you, and then suddenly it comes to a screeching halt. It was tough. It was a tough pill to swallow. It might have been, I don't know, it might have been their only defensive miscue. It could have been of the game, really, and maybe it was just Brady being, better play calling, whatever. Brady threw for 363 and 2 touchdowns. I don't want to speculate on play calls or anything like that. I've seen pretty much every breakdown of that final play in overtime, and how Jackson is maybe supposed to let Evans go across and come back to Perriman. That's probably how that was supposed to go, and he doesn't. I don't think Dane Jackson played a bad game. He almost gets an interception in the red zone. The Bills almost had a couple interceptions. That tipped ball that was just outside of Micah Hyde's reach, that's a touchdown probably. He would have got called back by Ed Oliver, taking a penalty there. But these are the things that are out of your control, sort of. The luck that's involved with football. Officiating is part of that. Those things are out of your control. It's luck. If it gets called or not, you can't do anything about it. Whether or not it's the right call, there's nothing. It's out of your hands. So I try not to focus on it too much. But yes, I do think the Bills got hosed on a couple calls. Still, the game was there for them to win. They had the ball first in overtime. You can butterfly effect it all you want. All you want. I don't care. You're right there. The opportunity is there for you. I'm done talking about Tampa Bay. I spent 15 minutes reflecting on the last game and everything. These videos have been going a little bit longer. Maybe you guys need it. I hope that my voice is somewhat therapeutic for you, or something like that. If you come this far in the videos, I sincerely appreciate you. I'm doing this for my own good as well. I'm letting it all out and talking to all of you about it. So, maybe you're like, this guy's insane, or, this resonates with me. Either way, I appreciate it. I want to talk, obviously we got to talk a little bit about the playoff picture. The Bills are just tumbling down a little bit. There's a couple schools of thought going into this weekend. You probably want Indy to beat New England on Saturday. If Indy beats New England on Saturday, you have the inside track of the division. Despite everything that's happened, all these emotions we've gone through, if Indy beats New England, the Bills can win out to the division. And 3 of their games are at home against Carolina, the Falcons, and the Jets. Games they should all win. They'll be double-digit favorites in all of them, probably. They're 10.5-point favorites against Carolina right now. I assume they'll be about 10.5, 9 or 10 against Atlanta, and I assume they'll be at least that at home against the Jets. So that you're setting yourself up for another huge matchup with New England next weekend. Again, that's if New England loses to Indy. If New England beats Indy, knocks Indy down a peg. Because if Indy wins, you might be letting them go in terms of the wild card picture. And the Chargers are ahead of you, a game ahead of you as well. The Chargers are 8-5. So then if you don't have the tiebreaker with Indy and the Chargers are a game ahead of you, you're maybe fighting for one wild card spot or some crazy tiebreak scenario. That's nerve-wracking. I do think Indy can beat New England, but New England's on a roll right now. Otherwise, you would need New England to, in order to win the division, if Indy loses to New England wins, and the Bills somehow beat them next week, the Bills could still win the division by winning their last 2 games, and then the Patriots would have to lose to either the Jaguars or Miami. They have a funny thing about playing Miami. They lost to Miami earlier this year. They go down to Miami and lose all the time, it seems like. That's their one, downfall. Their one weird trend, even throughout the Brady years, is they would go to Miami and get outplayed all the time. That's week 18 for them. Anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Carolina Panthers. I can't believe that they started 3-0 and they're now 5-8. Sam Darnold looked like a complete, resurrection from the dead, coming from the Jets. I mean, I had him on my fantasy team, Superflex League, and he was outstanding for the first couple weeks of the year, like a must start. Even when they lost to Dallas, like the guy put up huge numbers. He was rushing for touchdowns. And then something happened. He had a nice game against Minnesota, but then Giants, Atlanta, they ended up winning that game in New England, and it was just like, something's wrong. Something's wrong with Sam. Like their pass yards were under 200 every game in that stretch. And he was throwing bad interceptions. He had regressed back to the player that we kind of always knew he was. Now they re-signed Cam Newton. They're doing this weird thing with P.J. Walker, and Christian McCaffrey's out for the year. So I hate their offense. I absolutely hate their offense. P.J. Walker is a magnet for sacks. He throws bad interceptions. Cam Newton had a nice game against the Bills the first time they played. The second time they played in New England last year, the Bills dismantled them. And I think that they're capable of doing that again. However, defensively speaking, I'm impressed by Carolina's defense. I really am. I think they have studs all over the field. Gilmore is there. You might remember that. He started for like the first time last week, played all the snaps. They kind of brought him along slow. They were playing A.J. Bouye before that, because J.C. Horn is out for the season, and he would just make them even all the much more better. But they have a nice corner on the other side, Dante Jackson. I really like him. I love Jeremy Chin. I love Shaq Thompson. I love Brian Burns, who's one of my favorite players coming out. Derek Brown, total stud out of Auburn. Like they're nothing to mess with on defense. Like the only players to really throw on them all year were Zach Wilson a little bit in week 1. Dak Prescott had 4 touchdowns against him, but only threw for like 180 yards or so. And then Kirk Cousins in the overtime game they lost. Like they have 204 or fewer passing yards allowed in their last 7 games. So that could be tough. I don't know if the Bills will necessarily just roll all over them. Am I worried about Josh Allen's foot? A little. He's going to play. Does anybody really think that he's not going to play? or that they need to rest him and play Trubisky because we can beat the Panthers without them. Like, that's what an awful take. Why would you even think that? Like, this team is in the thick of a like murky wild card picture, and you just want to rest Josh Allen? No, I'm not here for that. I know everything I said earlier in the video. Everything I said about him, I want him out there. The truth of the matter is they don't get into a lot of those situations without him. So I want him on the field, obviously. I just don't think Carolina's as much of a rollover type of team as they are sometimes made out to be. They do have a tendency to make crucial mistakes on offense. They have thrown pick sixes. They have had blocked punts returned for touchdowns. I expect the Bills to win. I'm going to pick the Bills to win. I think they're going to win by 2 scores, but maybe it's close late, and then the Bills get a touchdown to kind of salt it away. So I'm going to say 27-13 Bills. That's my take. Guys, hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. Enjoy your weekend. As always, above all else, go Bills.